In the endless, silent dark between stars, they watched us. The Xylos hegemony, rulers of 1,000 worlds, saw Earth as a fleeting curiosity, a blue marble teeming with a species they deemed insignificant. Their archives, spanning eons, contained countless records of primitive life forms. To them, we were just another entry, destined to flicker and die out long before we ever touched the cosmos. They saw our squabbles, our fragile bodies, our short lifespans. They classified us as Category 4. Pre-stellar primitives. Not a threat. Not a peer. Not even a worthy subject for conquest. Just background noise in the grand symphony of the galaxy. Their observers filed their reports from cloaked ships in our outer system, their tone laced with a mix of boredom and disdain. They are divided, one report read, prone to conflict over trivial matters. Their technology is a chaotic mess of competing standards. They have yet to even unify their own planet. The Grand Council of Xylos barely acknowledged the briefing before moving on to matters of galactic importance. They had empires to manage, rebellions to crush, and stars to harvest. The tiny, distant world of Earth and its loud, chaotic inhabitants were forgotten. A footnote in a forgotten file. They made a grave miscalculation. They saw division and called it weakness. They failed to see that from our endless conflicts. We bred resilience. They saw our competing technologies and called it chaos. They failed to see the explosive innovation that competition sparks. While they stagnated in millennia of unchanging tradition, we clawed our way forward, year by year, decade by decade. We spilled out of our cradle, not with the gentle grace of an enlightened species, but with the grit and determination of survivors. We built stations that clung to the void like barnacles, spun habitats in the orbits of gas giants, and pushed our probes into the interstellar dark. Our progress was messy, loud, and often drenched in failure. But it was relentless. On Mars, our terraformers wrestled the dead world back to life. In the asteroid belt, our miners tore riches from stone, and in secret shipyards, hidden in the dark of deep space, we built a fleet. Not for exploration, not for diplomacy, but for survival. We had looked at the stars and seen not just wonder, but also a vast, cold, and potentially hostile darkness. And humanity, above all else, prepares for the worst. Our soldiers trained in grav simulators, their bodies encased in powered armor capable of shrugging off small arms fire. Our ship captains ran trillions of combat simulations against theoretical foes, their minds augmented by neural links to the ship's AI. They drilled for every scenario, every possibility, every nightmare we could conjure. Because that's what we do. We conjure nightmares so we can learn how to defeat them. The Xylos hegemony, in their arrogance, decided our solar system was a convenient, renowned resource. A new, star-harvesting fleet, vast and terrible, warped into the orbit of our sun. They didn't announce themselves. They didn't offer terms. They simply began deploying their colossal energy siphons, machines designed to bleed a star dry over centuries, caring little for the life that depended on it. They viewed us as ants on a picnic blanket, an inconvenience to be brushed aside. The alarms screamed across every human settlement, from the orbital rings of Earth to the deepest mines of Titan. The Xylos were surprised when they received a transmission. They expected pleas, or perhaps confused static. They did not expect a calm, clear, and unyielding voice speaking their own ancient dialect, decoded and mastered in mere hours by our A's. The message was simple. You are trespassing in sovereign human space. Your operations are endangering a sentient species. Cease your activities and withdraw immediately. You have 1 standard hour to comply. The Xylos fleet commander laughed. He sent a single, dismissive reply. We do not negotiate with primitives. Then he ordered a frigate to fire a warning shot at Lunar Moon, to demonstrate their power. They wanted to scare the ants into scattering. They had just kicked the hornet's nest. The instant the Xylos energy beam lanced towards the moon, the solar system lit up. From behind the dark side of every planet and moon, from stealth fields hidden within asteroid clusters, the human fleet appeared. It wasn't a patrol fleet. It was the entire home guard. Hundreds of ships, from nimble destroyer squadrons to colossal dread. Their forms brutal and functional, bristling with weapon emplacements. The Xylos commander watched his tactical display, his smug expression melting into disbelief. His sensors were screaming, overloaded with contacts that hadn't existed seconds before. Before he could even issue an order, the human response was unleashed. It wasn't a tentative attack, it was a coordinated, system-wide annihilation. Swarms of missiles, far faster and more agile than anything the Xylos possessed, erupted from their launch tubes. But these were no mere explosives. As they neared the Xylos ships, they fractured, releasing thousands of microdrones that swarmed the enemy shields, finding microscopic weaknesses and tearing them apart. Simultaneously, from the bows of the human dreadnoughts, came the real terror. Not lasers, not plasma. Humanity had weaponized space-time itself. Graviton lances fired, not projecting energy, but momentarily warping the fabric of reality into a focused, crushing vortex. Xylos ships, whose shields were designed to deflect energy and matter, found themselves simply twisted. Holes folded in on themselves. Reactors breached. Their majestic, elegant vessels were torn apart as if crushed by an invisible god. The Xylos were masters of conventional space warfare. They expected broadsides and energy exchanges. They did not expect a species that fought with the cold, ruthless efficiency of a mathematical equation. Human admirals didn't command from gilded bridges. They were integrated into the fleet's battle network, processing trillions of data points per second, directing every missile, every fighter, every gravitational pulse with inhuman precision. They didn't outmuscle the Xylos. They outthought them. They turned the battlefield into a multi-dimensional chessboard, and they were playing 50 moves ahead. A Xylos carrier confident behind its escort screen was suddenly ripped open not from the front, but from within. A single human stealth ship had executed a micro-jump, appearing inside the enemy as shield perimeter for less than a second, just long enough to deploy a swarm of self-guiding warheads directly against the carrier's hull before jumping out again. It was a tactic the Xylos had deemed theoretically impossible. For humanity, theoretical impossibility was just an engineering challenge. The epic, swirling space battle became a one-sided slaughter. The Xylos fleet, which had conquered star systems, was collapsing. Their communications were a storm of panic and confusion. They were fighting ghosts, fighting a force that didn't adhere to the known rules of physics, a species that had turned the universe itself into a weapon. They saw our art and music and called us soft. They didn't understand that the same passion that creates a symphony can fuel the fires of righteous fury. They saw our individuality and called us fractured. They didn't realize that it is from our countless different minds that our greatest, most unpredictable ideas are born. We adapt. We endure. We win. In less than an hour, it was over. The silence that returned to the solar system was heavier than before, punctuated by the slow, silent drift of alien wreckage. The star harvesters, now derelict, floated powerless, their mission forgotten. The surviving Xylos ships, crippled and broken, fled into the dark, carrying with them a terrifying new truth. The human fleet, scarred but triumphant, formed a silent cordon around their home. On the bridge of the flagship, the Grand Admiral watched the last enemy warp signature fade. He looked back at the glowing blue sphere of Earth, safe and serene. He keyed the fleet-wide comms, his voice steady, carrying across every ship in the victorious armada. "Log the engagement," he said. Category: First contact. Status: Decisive victory. Send a message to the Xylos hegemony. Use the formal dialect. The message is: stay out of our garden. A new file was opened in the Xylos Grand Archive that day, replacing the old one. The classification was no longer pre-stellar primitive. It was updated with a single, stark, crimson-lettered warning that would be broadcast to every corner of their empire. A warning for any who might look upon that small blue dot with arrogance or greed. A warning that would echo through the galaxy for millennia to come. Never underestimate humanity. Thank you for watching HFY Prime. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more tales of humanity's unyielding spirit.